Welcome back to the W Basketball Show. I'm your host Lucas, joined once again by Marco Holden Jeffrey. Marco, how are you today?
I'm pretty good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well. All things considered. We broke the cardinal rule of, I guess, when we record together, which we've never spoken about on the W Basketball Show before.
I was about to say it's a bit of an episode of the W in the key of the JVG tribute show.
Yeah. And what is that cardinal rule?
Don't eat dinner before the podcast.
Yeah, and don't eat dinner before the podcast, especially not Crocs and Rooster.
Especially not Crocs and Rooster.
We're huge advocates for Crocs and Rooster in, let's say, 167 hours of the week. But that last hour, that hour before recording, we would say steer clear of Crocs and Rooster.
Yeah.
Get it after recording,
I think it was necessary this time. I think rules are made to be broken. if you will.
And we've broken this one quite a few times.
So many times. Well, I feel like there was the test case period where it's like, oh yeah, we should get Crocs and Rooster, and then like, oh, why are we so tired now? And then it maybe took 100 episodes to figure out the correlation there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have broken it multiple times since the establishment of it, I would say.
Yeah, multiple times. I got the Schnitty Burger, which I know makes me the most sluggish, behind the chips, and we also got chips.
Yeah.
So I combined those two together. I am feeling, quite positive. I've been clearing my throat. I've been doing mini burps, so hopefully none of them come out while we're live on air. But how are you feeling more generally?
I've got a little thing at the back of my throat, the kind of swollen feeling.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's Crocs and Rooster related, but I can certainly blame it on it.
Feels like a string of gravy potentially.
Yeah, it could be that. And I could be a bit more awake, to be honest. But I'm here, I'm present, I'm well fed. So.
Yeah, that's the three rules.
That's
gym, tan, laundry, here, present, well fed. What else do you need?
In that order.
Yeah, Melbourne Shore. Also, Marco, congratulations. You got your keys today for your new place. Do you want to tell everyone the address?
If you've been listening to any of the last 8 episodes of anything I've been on in the last 3 months, I've been house hunting, and I finally picked up the keys today. Just lovely house. No notes really. Really, we're gonna move in tomorrow. We all took Wednesday off. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be I'm not going to dox myself entirely. Don't really care, but just for good form. But I'm going to be a Northcote local. So,
yeah. Well, that's fine. People won't hunt you down from that. And congratulations. It has been a long journey there. Yeah. And I feel like every piece of news along the way happened the day of a recording.
Yeah, it did.
And now here you go.
It did. Thank you.
And you're now moving in.
I appreciate it.
In other news, Sunday, biggest day of the year for some people, meat stock in Bendigo. I had someone I work with actually went to meat stock this year, and I was trying to look for. I found the competition he was talking about, the sausage sizzle throwdown, which they do once a year. The format's pretty standard: platter of sausages, bottle of water, 3 minutes to eat as many sausages as possible.
Right. Can't say I'm familiar, but you're painting a pretty clear picture for me.
Yeah. So I just wanted to see if you could wager a guess at who won the meat stock sausage sizzle throwdown on Sunday in Bendigo. 3 minutes to eat as many sausages as you can. You got a platter of 15 in front of you.
And I just have to guess who won it.
You just have to guess how many they ate.
And so just the sausages.
So it's platter of bread. It's in bread.
Oh shit!
A loaf of white. So let me give you the format. A loaf of white bread, a bottle of each tomato, barbecue, and mustard.
Right.
Each in a squeeze bottle.
Yeah. Platter
Platter of sausages, 15, and then bottled water. Now I should say, sorry, at the end of 3 minutes, let me just find the exact wording. At the end of picnic style rules apply. At the end of 3 minutes, chipmunking will be allowed. Water may be consumed once the timer has elapsed.
What's chipmunking?
I think you can't open your mouth, but you can. You can chew whatever's in your mouth.
All right, so I'm gonna make a few presumptions here that it's not like a professional competitive eating competition that your Joey, or your Kobayashis might compete in. What's his name?
Joey Chestnut.
Joey Chestnut. World champ, baby.
back to back. 13 times over.
So I'm guessing 15 might be the maximum. You get a plate of 15 and they don't really expect you to finish that many more than that.
Okay.
So I'm going to guess 11.
Good guess, 13.
13?
Wow. I learned that it was apparently a 6'8" Maori bloke that won it.
Yeah, right.
I was trying to find if they had a post about him.
Yeah.
They didn't have a post about him, unfortunately. But I then looked up how many calories is in a sausage and bread, and he consumed, in the space of 3 minutes, 4,300 calories.
Jesus.
Which is twice the recommended daily intake for most
crazy.
adults. Which is insane for a 3-minute span.
Yeah, wow. I think I could do quite well. This is my, I'd beat Serena Williams in 1 point. So, I think, which I don't think at all.
Lay the groundwork. It's not 1 point, it's 1 out of 1,000.
Yeah, 1 out of 1,000. Yeah. I think of all the foods to competitively eat, that an Australian style sausage and bread would be the one I'd be best at.
Okay. Well, how many could you do?
I reckon I could do 11 in 3 minutes. I reckon I could do that. I actually reckon I could do that.
11?
I reckon I could do 11 or 12 in 3 minutes for sure.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I like your confidence. I reckon I could do 3 or 4.
I reckon I've eaten 3 in a minute at Strawberry. So that's good groundwork, right?
Yeah, but you were taking PEDs.
I was just really hungry. That's all I'd eaten in 3 days. No, I don't know how to describe this for an audio format, but I'd have one between each web of my fingers.
Oh yeah. Now we're talking, bro.
Like cup of goon in the other hand or something to wash it down.
Make it fun. Make a game of it.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And speaking of beating professional athletes at their own sport, I think since that conversation, 5 years ago, I reckon I've advanced from, or maybe I haven't advanced, but this player has regressed.
Yeah.
So we were saying we could beat Serena 1 out of 1,000, Novak Djokovic 1 out of 1,000. I think maybe Rafael Nadal as well. And then we went to basketball players and we said Ben Simmons 1 out of 1,000. I think we could get him for 1 out of 500.
Yeah, easy.
I reckon.
Right now?
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, he can barely walk. He can barely rotate his hips at the moment. So.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. I don't know. I just know he's not playing.
Yeah, no, he's officially... Hate to break men's basketball and use this show to you, but he's officially been ruled out for the season. Yeah. Which, after playing 19 stellar games for the Brooklyn Nets. So I think right now we'd have a pretty good shot.
Oh, okay.
1 out of 500. I'm fully confident I could do that.
Well, 1 out of 10 then, maybe.
9 out of 10.
Well, we can remove the tongue from our cheek, Marco. Yeah. Big news on Sunday. The WNBL season came to a close. The end of the Grand Final series between the Southside Flyers and the Perth Lynx ended in a 2-1 series victory for the Southside Flyers. What were we talked about Game 1 on the last episode. We haven't spoken about Game 2 or 3. Let's just recap Game 1 quickly. It was the Perth win. Amy Atwell went crazy. You had the feeling... Annalie Maley had a great game, incredible game. You had a feeling Ari McDonald had a lot left in the tank. If it did feel like everything went right for Perth and Southside didn't play their best game, but it felt like the door was open for Perth to win the series. But yeah, what do you remember from Game 1?
Yeah, that aside from the Lynx having just the hottest shooting run, that I think even the most in-form Southside team would have struggled to overcome. When people are shooting, over 60% from 3 at halftime, so hard to get back into that game at any level. But it was also just Southside getting taken out of their game and not being able to find a way back into it. That was my key memory. Is all right, well, they never really got a chance to get going, and they just spent the rest of the game being all right, we can't get the ball to Mercedes Russell and Lauren Jackson. We can't figure out a way to dominate in the low post like we usually do. A, how do we do that now? And B, how do we achieve that in Game 2? It felt like by halftime they were already all right, we need to solve this in the interim between Game 1 and Game 2.
Yeah. But yeah, pretty impressive win for Perth, especially going to the boombox, on the road, winning that. And then flew back to Perth for Game 2. I think this is... it's pretty crazy to think where the series ended up when you consider the last, let's say, minute of Game 2 in Perth. Capped off by the bloody Mercedes Russell LJ impersonation buzzer beater to get the 97-95 win. And I think Annalie Maley is a great player. I think she's a great person for Australian basketball. I hope she makes the Olympic squad. I can't see how she wouldn't. Yeah. However, missed 2 free throws down the stretch. Missed it was a wide open layup.
It was a wide open layup. Yeah.
With, what was it, 10 seconds to go?
10-8 even. Like they got the ball up the other end so quickly.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And both of the times she missed the free throws in the layup, it was 95 all. So, yeah. And then, in a game, they ended up losing 97 to 95. But yeah, what would you say was the biggest difference between game 2 and 1 for Southside?
Southside just immediately able to get the ball to their bigs, just straight up in like the first 4 or 5 possessions. There were 2 high low actions with LJ and Mercedes Russell that ended in Mercedes Russell layup and Mercedes Russell free throws in both of them. I think LJ had 4 assists or 4 or 5 assists 4 minutes into the game or something. Right. So they were just immediately running action through her so much more. And yeah, even though Perth still, they didn't really, they really managed to take Perth's 3-point shot away from them. It's not entirely, but in the way that it was dominating them in game 1, just not giving them those open shots and letting every single Perth player get it on a hot shooting streak. Yeah. Which, is what sort of, caused the wheels to fall off in game 1. Those were the first 2 key differences for me. But the game was so close that we'll get to it. But that wasn't enough to kind of take Perth out of the game, I don't think. Yeah,
I think it was pretty crazy. Perth's resolve against such an experienced team. We both picked, I think, Southside to win game 2. Yeah. Just because it was you can't bet against them. In this scenario, you can't bet against them. I think, Southside getting out to a good start as well, kind of dictating stuff early on. And then they did make it look easy getting the ball inside. It wasn't easy, but they made it look easy, especially when you compare what they were doing in game 2 to game 1. And they just didn't let Perth get firing, and they didn't let them get up and down in both games 2 and 3. Whereas in game 1, Perth were just messing around, just flying around the court, shooting threes in transition, getting the whole game going up and down the court. So I think I think that the second game did have a higher pace than Southside probably would have liked to play, but they were able to seize control within that game. And then I think just not letting the game be a game of runs, letting it be more of an arm wrestle. Yeah. I think that definitely benefited Southside. Yeah. Yeah,
100%. But, I think Perth's biggest strength in game 2, and thank God they had it, is what you said, that Erin McDonald never got out of first gear in game 1. And she was really doing so much by herself in game 2, to keep them in the game at various points. 26 points. She had a huge game. I think if she'd had to have that game in game 1, it would have been an easier Southside victory in game 2 for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. She really did kept their heads above water. I really hope she returns next season. Yeah. I actually, we'll get on to what's next for Perth after our game 3 recap. But I really like this Perth team. But yeah, game 3. We were in attendance. Did you ever feel like Perth were gonna win or bring the game back?
Not at all.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was the stark contrast to game 1 and 2. I think what was on display was the experience. Yeah. Being able to just capture and capitalize on the moment. They didn't make mistakes. No. I found, and anytime Perth did have an opportunity present itself, I just can't remember them ever taking one. And I think the inexperience in terms of I feel like there was, I can imagine a lot of missed free throws. I feel like they had 2 empty trips at the free throw line, or maybe even 3.
They had 1 because we only got 1 free burger from one turn of McDonald's.
True. It was Mackenzie Clinch Hoycard though.
Yeah.
I think she missed 2 free throws in. I think she missed 2 free throws in the fourth quarter against Townsville in their in their first round series. Actually, let me double check about their last game. But yes, as you were.
It was. I think like pretty much the entire Southside rotation had like a perfect game. You know what I mean? Like Leilani Mitchell, Manny Rocci were just like absolutely doggedly defensively, hitting good shots, like getting to the rim. Beck Cole was awesome, like just such a leader on the court. Mercedes and LJ were, getting pretty much whatever they wanted when they needed to, but they like didn't have to go to them as much as you'd expect them to, given like, how they'd played in game 1 and 2. Like the guards were really, really like, lifting their game, I thought. Jazz Dickey as well. I feel like every time she touched the ball, she just like ended up at the rim, like with a good look.
19 points on 7 shots in game 3.
Yeah.
Crazy.
In 18 minutes as well.
Yeah, true.
Carly Ernst, like, I think she did that a bit in the first round series where like, I don't know. Yeah, she just hit shots when she had to.
Yeah.
Like, I think coming in as like the third big on a team and being that good is just like such a boon for this Southside side, especially playing against Perth, who are like much smaller. And yeah, when all three of them were like in their game and getting to like their particular shots, it was just like impossible for Perth to do anything. I think like their defense just didn't look up to stopping Southside from what they wanted to get.
Yeah, definitely. I think, though, that the experience for Clinch Hoycard and Emily Potter is huge and great. And I think that's part of the reason I kind of want this team to stay together as much as possible. I checked. It was Clinch Hoycard missed 2 free throws in the third quarter in game 2 against Southside. Not to pile on her, just saying, like, I feel like, that's the difference between the inexperience and the experience. Everyone who played for Southside in game 3, not including the garbage time, scored in double figures. And then in double figures, that lineup accounted for 10 points. So I feel like we can say everyone that played, or at least that unit, how do you word this? You know what I'm trying to say, though.
Everyone who like got the opportunity to score, like, like everyone contributed 10 points or more. Basically.
Yeah. Even the garbage time, that minute 53, they still were able to get double-digit points. And what's that? That's 8. That's everyone. That's everyone. But yeah, great closeout game from Southside, and I think the experience was lacking for Perth, and I think the continuity. I think missing Aari McDonald for such a large part of the season, it did help Amy Atwell develop as this just completely fearless 3-point shooter. It helped Mila Goodchild in her own development and looking comfortable in the finals more generally. But it felt like if they were to have the whole season with Aari McDonald, then it would have been nice to just spend however many it would have been in a row, 25, 26 games together, rather than be like, oh, okay, we've got a team with Aari McDonald, we've got a team without Aari McDonald, we've got a team with Aari McDonald. Like it's 2 different like iterations of the same team rather than one continuous like game plan kind of.
Yeah. But then I feel like part of their like strength in this run at the end of the season and in the finals was like you said, like these other players having more of a time to develop, and then Aari McDonald coming into the team and being like, I think it's more like how this sets, and again, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but how it sets them up for next season. It's like, all right, now like we know like Amy Atwell's like best shooter in the league, like
gotta be.
And now we know how she can play with Aari McDonald. Like if we can get everyone back together, and this is the thing, I don't know how to talk about WNBL like forward-looking rosters because you just don't know who's going to be coming back year on year. But if they can, then like this is like I'm trying to think what's an analogy, like when an NBA team has like a good end of the season and then makes a bit of noise in the playoffs and then comes into the next season and just dominates, like like Phoenix when they were the 1 seed, or Boston after like Ime Udoka or something like that. Like you set it up late in the season. It's not enough to like get you over the line. It's probably not the right time either. But like just the development you've done in that time sets you up so much better for the future.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's just always so much roster turnover. So it's just like there's so much so much unexpected. You can't really plan. Do you want to talk about the speeches after the game at all? Just touch on them.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, I thought they were just amazing.
Yeah, 100%.
Like Beck Cole would have spoken for like 6 or 7 minutes. Anneli Maley spoke for like a minute or two.
Yeah.
Cheryl Chambers spoke for 2 minutes. Christy Collier-Hill spoke for 5 minutes, 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And just not a single wasted word.
No.
Like everything was just so well worded, so really celebrated the game, celebrated the direction of the league, celebrated Australian basketball, and yeah, it was so refreshing. It was so refreshing to hear like real people speak.
Yeah, and like they like wanted to be up there speaking, not just in the sense of like, you know, they didn't want to speak, but like I feel like everyone who went up like had a message to say, and it was like it was important to have that moment for their voice. Like Anneli Maley, like fucking bang up job getting up there and doing that. Like, it's absolutely the toughest thing, and to like just show your emotions so raw like that. And then, but just to look at it like one from like the perspective of a women's basketball player and be like, oh, this is such a good moment for the sport. I feel like also from the perspective as an Opal, where it's like, you know, most of these players like are mates and you know have been involved on the national team together, and like they're more looking at it for how it develops Australian basketball than for the team in the southeast of Melbourne beats the team on the west coast of Australia. Like
it really did seem like Anneli Maley had no idea she was going to be interviewed, and she said that as well. But yeah, great. It just felt good. It felt good hearing the way they spoke.
For sure.
The NBA moves so quickly these days, it's hard to keep up. Shams and Woj are breaking stories left and right, but the Quick Time Out is right there with them to keep you informed on the latest NBA news. Stop in and let us break it down as it happens. Find the Quick Time Out on the Deep 2 Podcast Network.
Great 2023-24 WNBL season overall. Record attendance numbers over the space of the season. Product of the league, I think, was matched for, I want to say, like 90% of the season. Like there were a few patches where a team, like I can only imagine like one or maybe two teams having a bad game every round. Like max, like or it was just like all 8 teams just flying. Like I remember at the start of the season when the UC Capitals started, I can't remember what it was. I think it was 0-8. But I watched so many of those games and I was like,
you were big on them. Yeah,
I was like, they're awesome. They just don't know how to close out a game, and that was like, you know, that's that inexperience as well. Like being in those late game situations, we need to like turning it into a win. But yeah, I just think that the product from top to bottom, all the players cared. Everyone that had their opportunity really took it. And yeah, hopefully it's a good time for next season. I think it will be, and I think following the Olympics, that'll only help Australian basketball in the WNBL. Which is in July, a couple months before the WNBL tips off. But yeah, what next for Perth? I feel like actually let's just start like quick note on Southside. Great team, so much experience, great coach. Like I think they were. I said going into the finals they'd be my power ranking to win it all. I think they just were the most consistent team all year long, and they gave the viewer the least amount of things to critique them about. I think they were the most steady pick. What do you reckon?
I 100% agree. I think, like, you know, I guess your marquee international, Mercedes Russell, like, she wants to be there. I mean, when she won finals MVP, like, she really expressed how much she enjoyed playing in the WNBL and wanted to come back and everything. So like, just keep them together, I guess. If you've got such a like good experienced squad with such good chemistry, if you can convince Lauren Jackson to just keep playing until she's 60 years old, you know, then I think your franchise is completely fine.
It can only serve to help. I guess maybe try and find a few more early season minutes for Wisha, Lorridge, and Lou Brown. Nadia Poch, don't really know what's going on there now. I feel like I actually just don't know. I'm not going to speculate either. But I think, just getting a few more minutes into those depth pieces early on, because like great season, but the team is old. The team is like it's quite old. And what next for the Perth Lynx? I feel like they were the vibes team of the season. They were even before the season started. I feel like their Instagrams, like each of the players' Instagrams, it was so like they're just like, they already seemed like they really loved playing with each other and they loved playing for Perth. And I just feel, I really hope they keep the core together. Actually, I want to make mention, Alex Chibitoni was such a valuable depth piece, and provided so much scoring, which was like sorely needed. And she does have quite I would say like an unorthodox style when it comes to scoring. I think she's a great defender, a great competitor, and a great team player offensively. Like really rarely makes. Always makes the team play, but I don't usually you think of her as like the scoring threat or the player finishing the possession, but I think she was huge, and she really just like understood the moment throughout the entire final series. Just great work, Alex Chibitoni. Shout out to you. But yeah, I think I would love to see this team stick together. I think maybe they need another big though.
Yeah, that was my initial thought. The brutal. I think some of the hardest moments in this series were like Annalise Mailey, who's like, great defender, but like she's just spending so much time on Lauren Jackson. And it's like you're not going to come out of that matchup well if you're undersized. So like I think just even as like a matchup thing, like another big that you can throw out there, just as obviously, not just another body on the floor, but you know what I mean. Like a sort of situational thing. Doesn't mean you have to change the way you play or like what you're like. Because I think that was also to their advantage, was being smaller just meant that they were just so deadly in open play.
For sure.
But like the reality is that if you're coming up against a team with 3 women's footers in the finals, like you need someone else to put out there.
And like it's gonna be the case in the WNBL. They luckily didn't run into it in the first round. Oh, and now I can't remember if both Akuso and Amanda Zawi B were... No, they were both playing. Oh yeah, Zawi B had that crazy 3-point shooting game. But you're gonna run into these huge teams, and even I feel like Emily Potter's like very technically good, and I feel the same way about Clinch Hoycard. I think she's going to be a great player, Clinch Hoycard.
And I think Potter did the best job on like Southside's bigs as well. Like she matched up to them really well.
And there was only so few times that Petrick ran out with. Oh my god! Also, Ryan Petrick, great coach. And I think we said Cheryl Chambers before, but amazing coach. But yeah, there were only a few times he put Potter and Clinch Hoycard out there at the same time, and I feel like. Yeah, part of that has to do with style, but part of that has to do with needing to always have one of them out there. So you can't really line their minutes up to be on the court at the same time. So I don't really know who this player is that we're talking about. Theoretically, I would say you'd want it to be someone more experienced. But yeah, I can't think of anyone right now. But like I'd say, just like a defensive minded center that's more experienced and has had played in multiple leagues around the world.
100%. And like maybe a bit of a Marshall at the back as well, which I felt. I think they had really good leadership in Melee, and like you're kind of saying, like Chibitoni has a bit of that what do they call it in the US? Defensive quarterback sort of thing. Where it's like, you have that good like outside defender who's just good at coordinating everyone and like making the right decision and everything. But like I think there needed to be a more experienced defensive presence in there as well.
Yeah, for sure. And they'll only get better from this experience. And you got to think about who they're coming up against. It's like There's the Perth perspective, but then it's like, do you think Leilani Mitchell's going to accept defeat? Lauren Jackson, Maddie Roche, Mercedes Russell, Beck Cole. Like, this is such a stacked roster. But yeah, I have good feelings about Perth moving forward.
Same.
This episode of The Deep 2 is presented by Gelateria Bico, the official gelato of The Deep 2. Gelateria Bico, handmade gelato in the heart of Brunswick.
For sure.
I have really good feelings about the league moving forward. I was really hoping Sydney would make the finals, and I hope they return in similar form. I hope they keep their starting five pretty much together. I don't know if Didi Richards is going to come back, but I would love if she came back. That would be awesome for them and for her. She made a post on Insta about talking about how much she appreciated her time in Sydney, and like that it helped her refine her love for basketball. Because at her best, I can't remember who it was against, but she was playing for the Liberty at the time, and she was just like getting into it with someone. Yeah. Like, I can't remember who it was, but just like, not just one person, but just like every game she'd like be up and down the court, like talking shit to whoever she was coming up against. And so, yeah, I think she just brings such a good show to the game. Yeah. And like is just a great basketball player as well. And I feel like Sydney also just like played a really fun sort of basketball to watch. They obviously have great characters and personalities that are fun to support. And then, yeah, like who else is in the top four? Melbourne and Townsville. I feel like Melbourne might need to make a few changes. Go on.
Yeah, well, I think this is more of like a general league comment, as you know, this being the first season that I've really paid attention to this. I feel like Melbourne and Sydney, and honestly probably every team in one way or another, are just really affected by, you know, not having like a proper preseason together. Like, you know, like either having players coming in late from other leagues, or, you know, like having players injured at the beginning of the season, or like, you know, not at full fitness, or whatever, you know, like your Sarah Blizzards, your Kayla Georges, like, you didn't get 21. You didn't get 21 games of them with the team. So then and yeah, like that's what we saw with Sydney. Like they had that really poor start, and then like they started to gel more as the season went on. I guess that's what we saw with Perth as well. So like, and then yeah, with Melbourne, it was what you were saying last week, where it's like, yeah, did they play a quarter where they were playing their best basketball? Probably not, but they still ended up, you know, in third position on the ladder. Yeah. So like, yeah, probably changes need to happen, but probably also, you know, is that personnel or is that coaching or is it just like figuring it out and spending more time together? Like,
yeah, I think, I think you need to have that gelling time. Yeah. I think that's where most of the mistakes were made, and that like being a second late to a screen or whatever. Yeah. Where all those like tiny little mistakes were happening because I feel like of all the teams we've spoken about so far, they've got great talent and great coaching. So it's just like spending more time to blend that all together.
Exactly. Yeah.
The UC Caps, I still think they're a little while away. But Jade Melbourne's only gonna get like, you know, exponentially better, and she can just like, she can really put that team on her back. I feel like moving forward, she'll be able to put that team on her back, and she seems pretty happy playing in Canberra. Yeah. But I feel like that team needs a few more years or a few more players. Like if you want to just like make that call and start bringing in more competitive players. Bendigo and Adelaide both won. Well, Adelaide won their last 4 games. I think Bendigo went on a 5 or 6 game winning streak before losing their last game. Yeah. But like, I think the parity of the league was on like full display for patches throughout the season, but especially at the end of the season, there was so much unknown. I mean, Perth made it to the finals with an 11-10 record. Bendigo was third last with an 11-10 record. Yeah. You know, like the league was really close, and yeah, I think to your point, not having that preseason together, all these teams are kind of finding their form at the end of the season. Yeah. And then look at how good the end of the season was.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, like 1 through 6, those are like 6 good, probably finals deserving basketball teams. And then Adelaide and Canberra are like just young, like, you know, just both have like fantastic, like superlative young players, you know, or individuals like Izzy Boiles and Jay Melbourne at their core. But like, yeah, just how far can you expect them to go without that much experience? Which is nice. It's nice there's no like I mean, there's 8 teams, but there's no shitty limbo teams here. There's no team that's like, man, like you should be so much better than you are. It's like, no, you're probably just as good as you should be at this stage. Like,
and Adelaide's 4-game winning streak to what the hell? Adelaide's 4-game winning streak to end the season. 2 of these wins were away. One of them was at home. Townsville, Southside, and Melbourne. Like they beat the 3 best teams in the league.
Yeah.
And also, Steph Talbot was just like out for most of the season.
Again, another injury to like an O4 that just like completely messes with the team.
Yeah, and Brianna Turner came into the team. I mean, I picked the wrong box score to just look at to get my eyes up and down the team. But she had 20 points in that game. Yeah. But I feel like they weren't bringing her in to be that scorer. They were bringing her in to be that like undersized big that's just an incredible defender, great playmaker. Yeah. They use her at I feel like Adelaide used her at the top of the key so well as a playmaker all season long. But like imagine if that team was fully healthy and strong all season long, and then Izzy Borlase is going to be another year better.
Yeah, and maybe with like an Olympics, at least being at the Olympics under her belt. Like that's 2 or 3 years of experience. Yeah, right away for already one of the best young players in the league.
Yeah, and she was on mock drafts for the WNBA draft, wasn't she?
Oh yeah,
WNBA mock draft. Let's get this up.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, because Poch was as well. Also, gotta issue a correction for last week. I said Caitlin Cooper, complete mess up, and I wasn't talking about the soccer player. I was talking about. I messed up by saying Caitlin Cooper, but who I had in mind was the Indiana beat reporter.
Yeah.
That is pretty much always on my Twitter feed. Mm-hmm. So I think the connection I made was Indiana basketball internet.
I mean, look here on a mock draft from January. So okay, a little bit back now, but yeah, we have Poch at 10, and then Izzy Borlase at 12. So
which one is this?
This is an ESPN WNBA mock draft 2024, 19th of January.
Oh, okay.
By Michael Vopel.
Oh, Mike Vopel. Okay. Yeah. Let me suss out Lead Sports Media and CBS Sports as well. I think these are all going to just be one pages, aren't they?
Yeah.
What did you say? Did you say Izzy Borlase at 12?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So late lottery, as they call it. Yeah, I mean, look, in the most recent one, she's not there. Poch is at 7, but like, she's in the conversation for sure. And what? God, how old is she again?
I think she's 19.
She's
young. Just turned 20.
She probably shouldn't even, there's absolutely no need for her to go to the WNBA yet.
But don't let that hold you back.
Yeah, exactly right.
Okay, well, I can't find her in any mock drafts. But there's 3 rounds. Yeah. So just because she isn't in the first round isn't the end of the world.
Exactly right.
Okay, well, is there anything else you wanted to talk about there, Marco?
No, just what a fun league to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably are interested in women's basketball. But
you're just going to say, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably are.
Also true. But, for a couple of months over summer, there's just like really, really good basketball in your hometown. Every week basically.
Yeah.
And
genuinely,
it's so much fun to watch. Like, I mean, obviously going to these finals games was like the most fun because the atmosphere was incredible. But like the product's there every night. So just go watch it more. I think is my huge takeaway from this season.
Yeah, go to a game. You'll realize how fun it is. Yeah. Also, we ended the season 17th of March, so middle of March. The WNBA tips off May 14th. So you got two months of dead time, and I promise you it will be like 3 or 4 weeks of dead time before the WNBA hype train starts.
Yeah.
And there's the NBA as well. Like there's heaps of basketball to watch around the league. But you can watch these like players. You can go in person and see these players so many times, X amount of times a year. And then you can watch them, develop in the WNBA. And this year we get to watch them play in the Olympics as well. And then they're going to come back next year with so much more experience and so many different experiences. And then you get to watch them in person again. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks, Lucas.
All right. Thanks, Marco. Hey, thanks. And bye.
Yo.